to today's interview here on Decentralized TV on Brighteon.com. And today, our very special guest is Catherine Austin Fitts of the Solari Report. She will join us in just a minute. First, let me introduce my co-host, Todd Pittner, who joins us as always. Todd, welcome to the show today. Are you excited about our guest?
Hola. Man, am I ever. I have been, you know me, I'm a question prepper. So I've been preparing my questions, and it's just like, where do I begin? Where do I end? This is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. I really can't wait to ask our guests some questions about practical decentralization. And of course, I think she needs very little introduction, but I will just mention Solari.com is the website. I have it up here, the Solari Report, and she is well known as just an extraordinary analyst, a top-level analyst of geopolitical events, financial events, and also, I would say, sort of the psyche of the people, the geopolitical movements, the minds, and how it's moving through our world. And she's a big fan of decentralization. So welcome, Catherine Austin Fitts. It's an honor to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Mike and Todd. It's great to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here. We love your work because you actually live and practice decentralization. You don't just talk about it. You actually do it.
I try. It's, it's a journey. It's never over. You're always trying to do it. I don't always succeed, but I always try.
No, I hear you. Right there with you. Every time I'm cleaning out my chicken house with a rake, I'm like, I'm trying. I'm pretty sure this is good.
At Solari, we call it turtling. We're turtling.
Turtling.
Yeah, because it's very important to keep your state of amusement and never quit. No matter what goes on, you just have to take forward action. No matter how small or tiny, it's just continuous. And so we call it turtling.
That's true. Very true.
Yeah.
Now, Todd, I know you've got lots of questions prepared. Let me just start with the first kind of introduction question for Catherine. I think, Catherine, you are known as someone who just courageously speaks out about the dangers of how, in some ways, President Trump is a Trojan horse for introducing a CBDC system, centralized control currency system. Are you seeing yet more confirmatory evidence that plan is in place?
Yes, every day. So last summer on Money and Markets, which is a show I do on Solari Report, we took the position that the establishment was going to use Trump to institute the control grid. The other team, the Democrats, weren't moving fast enough. They weren't getting things done. And so I said, they're going to use Trump to do this. That was about 6 weeks before the Butler event. And so that's what's happened. And if you come to Solari, we have an article called Trump Administration Accelerates the Control Grid Fast. And we update it every week with all the things the administration is doing. I was doing shows at the first 3 months after the inauguration, and there got to be so many steps that the administration was taking to build the control grid that I finally said, look, we've got to have a collection on the website and keep a list because there are so many items. It's impossible to, keep them all on the tip of your tongue.
And what about Lutnick? Because he's right there with Trump all the time. And there's a lot of fishy sort of historical data points about Lutnick that people are talking about all of a sudden. What do you make of his role?
So I think the two people who seem to be playing the strongest role are Besant, the Secretary of Treasury, and Lutnick. And I don't begin to, and of course, Steve Miller in the White House and Susie Wiles. So you've got the sort of people in the White House, and then it's the Treasury and Commerce, which are I think are the real powerhouses right now, although there's a lot going on in the State Department. But I think the instructions are clear that they're pushing for central control now. There's a big effort both in the Congress and the administration to say no CBDCs. But if you look at what their plan is for stablecoin, it's basically a CBDC with less obligations to Congress than if it was done directly through the New York Fed. Essentially, it's going to be done through I think primarily the New York Fed member banks who own the New York Fed will have subsidiaries. Other people will be allowed to do it too, but I think they'll probably command the market share, particularly internationally. So
Okay.
if you apply the social credit system they're building with Palantir and the Doge effort, I think you're going to end up with something far more dangerous than CBDC.
Well, a quick follow-up, and then Todd, it's all yours. I apologize for hogging the show here up front, but a follow-up question on that. Is Trump's creation of a new stablecoin legal ecosystem a plot to find a whole new market to sell treasuries into? And the 10-year, I think just today went over 5%.
So it was up at 5% earlier this week, then it came off, and then if it's back, it's back
It's
today.
back,
but,
yeah.
Yeah. So there are a couple things going on with stablecoins. I think the important, to the administration, this administration came in on a tsunami of donations from the crypto industry. And I think this administration, one of their strategic goals is to be a global leader in crypto, and to literally re-engineer, it is to continue the going direct reset and the global reset using crypto. The first thing they want to do, and I think number one on the list right now, is they're pushing the Genius Act. It's gone through the Senate, it's going through the House. Is to get the Genius Act through. They're trying to get a market structure bill through as well that will sort of outline market structure for the rest of crypto. I think they'd like to get both of those through. The Genius Act first. If they can't get them through together, they want the other one, the market structure, through by September. And now some members of Congress have an anti-CBDC rolling along with the Genius Act because they want to make sure you don't do a backdoor CBDC. But there's no way that a social credit system applied to stablecoins is not going to be a backdoor, CBDC.
Right.
But their number one priority is to build a whole new market for the dollar and Treasury securities. So they're looking for something, and it's not a plot because this is very announced, it's very discussed, it's part of the legislative process. And in fact, they've published movies about it. I don't know if you've seen the new G20 movie, but it's basically outlining the plan. But so this is a very open plan. What they hope to do is essentially, if you remember the Iraqi pallets of cash that they would ship, and what they did is they took down the dinar and shifted everybody over to the dollar just by spreading dollars. So stablecoin internationally is going to be the new Iraqi pallets of cash, or digital pallets of cash, where you can go in through any country, where you can go in through the mobile payment systems, through the mobile phones. So presumably everywhere but Russia and China is my guess. At least 6.5 billion people. You're going to go through on Google Pay and Apple Pay and all the payment. Think of all the payment systems. And you're going to go in, and instead of the dollar being the great Satan, it's going to be cool, fashionable, hip crypto, right? It's going to be stable coins. And what you're going to try and do is suck everyone around the world off of their local currency into the dollar through stable coins. Okay, so you remember when one company would tender for the stock of another company, a hostile takeover? Well, this is a hostile takeover instead of through the stock market, through the currency market. And you're trying to shift the whole planet over into dollars. And that, as that money flows in, it will flow into the Treasury market. And what that does is that, you're looking, if it succeeds, for another 10 to 15 years life on the dollar.
Wow.
So it's a dramatic increase in both dollar market share, but a dramatic increase in the amount of money flowing into the Treasury market. Now, it's important to understand right now, 25, 26, 27, we have huge maturities of treasuries rolling over because the last several secretaries of Treasury sort of brought it in short, trying to save money. That was when interest rates were low. Now interest rates are high, and you've got huge amount of treasuries rolling over, and you're going to have to refinance them at very high interest rates. It's one of the reasons you hear the president screaming at Powell about interest rates, even though the interest rates, they are the result of accumulated series of actions, including massive monetary inflation, but other things going on. And, it looks to me, I don't think Trump's trying to get rid of Powell so much as trying and make sure every American blames the Fed for interest rates, not him. He's looking ahead to the second, the midterm elections.
Wow.
So anyway, so the Treasury is in a real squeeze. That was part of the yakety yak you heard, trying to market the Doge deal to the American people. And so they're in a real pickle on the dollar system. So remember, let's step back. It's very important to remember that the plan in the Ukraine was, just like we imploded Russia in '89, hybrid warfare, we're going to implode Russia again. And that's going to give us the resources we need to remain the hegemon up against China. Okay? Plan failed. So Trump is walking in the face of the plan failed. So what's plan B? And the reason you hear him talking about Greenland and Panama and Alberta, and parts of Canada, if you can't go east-west, you got to go north-south. He's just trying to re-engineer the dollar system so it has new life. And stablecoins is part of that new life. And trying to find the energy resources you need, particularly to build a very energy consumptive control grid, is what he's trying to do.
And that would allow the U.S. to continue to print and print and print because there's so much more global demand for the dollar via these cryptos. All right, Todd, it's all yours. I know you are.
I'm not even going to go to one of my questions that I've heard.
Can I just mention one thing?
Yeah.
And I love movies, but I don't love this movie. It's really not. I don't recommend it as an entertainment experience. But there's a new movie out called G20. Of course, we all know what G20 is. It's the 20 top industrial nations in the world, and they're in a group called G20. And in the movie G20, Viola Davis is an ex-Marine who's president of the United States. And her plan is to flood the world with stablecoins, and with stablecoins, farm credit, where using stablecoins, you loan farm credit to all the farmers in the world, right? Now, Mike understands the importance of controlling the food supply, so we know where this goes. In the movie, the G20 meeting is in South Africa. And in fact, this year, the G20 meeting is in South Africa, okay, in November.
Wow.
And at the meeting, a group of terrorists who are pumping a different crypto other than stable coins, we won't say what, attack and try and take over and sort of kill her plan. And of course, she wins, and the message is the G20 leadership comes around and blesses the stablecoin with massive farm credit to all the farmers in the world. Now, you know how long, Mike, it takes to design and make a movie in time to have it roll out right now, right?
Yeah.
So that's when I say this isn't a plot. This is a,
It's a blueprint.
They've been playing long. Yeah.
Right.
So, Catherine, I have a question based upon what you've said already, and you've mentioned they, and I always try to get to the bottom of it with special guests like you. Who the heck is they? I mean, who is at the top that is insisting on controlling all of us?
Okay, so in my experience, it layers up, and it's very much a committee system that kind of layers up. Okay. So the they, in this instance, because every 100 years or so, we go through a reset. And if you go back and look at the currency system, every 100 years or so, we have a reset. And we're in a reset. It's the going direct reset. If you go back, the central banker, the G7 central bankers meet under the auspices of the Kansas City Fed every summer at Jackson Hole. And in 2019, a year after FASB 56, which we discussed passed, very critical date, they met and reviewed a plan that had been prepared by a group of very prominent retired central bankers working through the BlackRock Investment Institute. They looked at a plan called Going Direct Reset. And if you come to Solera, we have a wrap-up just that John Titus wrote for us, just, on the plan. And it was that plan they left that was August 2019. they left, the Fed went into the repo market, we're off to the races. And of course, part of what you needed, remember, during the pandemic, you shut down Main Street, which created offsetting deflation. And then you injected $5 trillion, which made it possible to centralize both assets and market share in an extraordinary way. It was a giant sucking sound of income and assets from Main Street into Wall Street, financed by the Fed and facilitated by shutting everybody down. Right, so there's this great scene during the pandemic when Rick Santelli is talking to, I guess it's Andrew Sorkin, and he's saying, this makes no sense. I'm walking into a shopping mall. It's got 20 little small businesses. They're all shut down. Costco's wide open. The parking lot is packed with people going to Costco. They're pressing flesh, and packed into Costco. And this makes no sense. And Sorkin says, oh, no, you won't get hurt by the virus in Costco. It's in the small businesses. And he says, that's science. Literally, he says, that's science. And Santilli is looking at him like, he's standing on the floor of the exchange. He's looking at him like, what? It's like, viruses only get you in small businesses, not in Costco. And what Sorkin was saying is, if it's a publicly traded stock, the publicly traded stocks are free to operate and all the small businesses are shut down.
Except, Catherine, I have a 3-count lawsuit against Costco because they fired me as a customer because I wouldn't wear a mask. And I was papered up with all my, reasons. And I just wouldn't budge. And I went through and I paid for my items. And then I got a letter FedEx to me the next day from their attorneys firing me as a member of Costco because I refused to wear a mask. Now, that lawsuit has been thrown out 3 different times at 3 different levels, and I'm probably done with it. But I'm just telling you, Costco is evil, everyone. Saying.
Well, Todd, you've been excommunicated from Costco, but at least they didn't say there are no Epstein files.
That's true.
and I do want, Catherine, I'd love to hear your reaction to the current, the pivoting of Trump. Day by day, no one can keep track at this point. It's bewildering. His head is spinning around faster than that scene from The Exorcist. How do you make sense of any of this, or can we?
So when I watch Trump, I see 3 threads. The first is trying to rebalance the dollar system. So this is something he has to do. If you're the president of the United States and his team, you're going to want to rebalance the dollar system too. And that's just happening. The second is he's building the control grid. And it's very important, the way you get sheep or different animals to go into the slaughterhouse, the Judas goat walks them in, and you want to make sure they're just marching right in peacefully without them realizing they're going to their slaughter. Mm-hmm. So he's trying to build the march everybody into the digital concentration camp without it looking like he's doing that, because you don't want them to spook before you've got them in the slaughterhouse, right?
Right.
So the second thing, he's building that. The third thing, he's decided he's going to make as much money for himself and his family and his pals as he possibly can, including the big donors. And if you look at those 3 threads, part of it is he's going to do whatever Netanyahu tells him to do, right? So, the question is, who's really running the country here?
Well, every time he announces a tariff and then backs off the tariff, I'm thinking, wow, the market whiplash here, somebody's profiting off of this, both directions.
Well, did you see in Brazil, the front run? There was a front running pattern on the Brazil negotiation
before the 50%
and a front running
tariff.
on the copper that was unbelievable. Somebody made a fortune.
Yeah, clearly.
And if you look at the pattern, if you look at when they front run, somebody. Now there are many different ways that could happen. So we saw Starlink during Doge put into the White House. So that could have been just so they get all the intelligence to front run it. There are many ways it could, but I just have to tell you, one of the 3 threads is Grift Nation. I've never seen grifting this blatant ever.
Well, Catherine, you mentioned Netanyahu. Educate us. How can the U.S. be the dog and Netanyahu's wagging the dog? I mean, how does he have so much control over this country?
So if you look at the syndicate that he represents, so this is an old story. And if you go back to the National Crime Syndicate, years and years ago, that group was one of the factions, and they've grown steadily more powerful relative, certainly to to some of the other groups. And this is where Whitney Webb work comes in, because she's gone back and really studied those groups. When I was litigating with the federal government, I really went back and studied those groups, because it's very important to understand how organized crime in America works and the economics of it and how it interrelates with Washington and the financial system, so Wall Street and Washington. And I have an online book called Dylan Reed and the Aristocracy of Stock Profits, which is about the intersection of Wall Street and Washington, shows you how the money works and how it works with organized crime. So, organized crime is run top down. It's not run bottom up, right? It's not just teenagers selling drugs. The black teenagers do not control narcotics trafficking in America, let alone the money laundering. Anyway, and here now might be a good time for me to tell the red button story.
Okay, please, yeah.
Okay. So this is we got to get this in context, because it relates very much to what can I do? What can you do? What can we do? Okay, so in 2000, I'm giving a speech in Pennsylvania. I've been asked by a wonderful healthcare practitioner to talk to a group of people who have a conference once a year on how to evolve our society spiritually. And she said, I want you to describe how organized crime intersects with Wall Street and Washington and help us understand what's going on. Where's this corruption coming from, and why can't we stop it? So I did. I gave a speech called How the Money Works in Organized Crime, and it later became a very famous article called Narco Dollars for Beginners. And it was meant to be a light, funny explanation of the intersection between Wall Street and Washington and organized crime. So I'm in the middle of the speech, and I'm talking about the Dark Alliance allegations, which I'm sure Mike is very familiar with, which is drug running by the U.S. intelligence agencies through Mena, Arkansas, into urban areas, including South Central L.A. And it was very much outed by a wonderful reporter named Gary Webb, who wrote a book called Dark Alliance. Anyway, the Congress had testimony on the Dark Alliance allegations in 1998. And during that period, a reporter I was working with was told by a spokesperson from the Department of Justice that the U.S. economy launders $500 billion to $1 trillion a year of all dirty money. We're the global leader in money laundering. It's one of the reasons our financial system has traditionally been so prominent. If you look at the Anglo-American Alliance command of the capital markets, we do a great job of persuading everybody that they can trust the rule of law, but meantime, we're laundering high margin organized crime money and giving it the financial leverage that the rule of law can give it in the market. So you're combining the high margin businesses with the leverage of financial liquidity. Okay, so I said to this wonderful group of spiritually evolved people, about 100 people, what would happen if we stopped being the global leader in money laundering? And there was a little discussion, and they said, well, we would have problems rolling over the government debt, so our government checks might stop or our taxes might go up. And, if we stopped laundering that money, the capital would go to Hong Kong and Zurich and Singapore instead of the New York Stock Exchange. So our IRAs and 401ks might go down. And I said, okay, well, let's pretend there's a big red button up here on the lectern. And if you push that button, you can stop all hard narcotics trafficking in your town, your county, your state tomorrow, thus offending the people who control $500 billion to $1 trillion a year of all dirty money and the accumulated capital thereon. Who here will push the button? And out of 100 people dedicated to evolving our society spiritually, guess how many would push the button?
0.
1.
Okay.
If I had voted, it would have been 2. So I said to the other 99, why would you not push the button? And they said, we don't want our government checks to stop. We don't want our taxes to go up. And we don't want our 401ks and IRAs to go down in value. So I said, what you're saying is you want the intelligence agencies to continue to bring drugs into your community and sell them to the children in your neighborhood to keep your IRAs going, up. And what I discovered that day was this. The problem was not that they wouldn't push the red button. The problem was they wouldn't go into the invention room and say, look, this is what's going on. We can't back the narco dealers out of our neighborhood because they're working for Tony Soprano. And Tony Soprano's working for James Bond. So the black helicopters come down on our head if we do. And we need to talk about how we turn this around. They wouldn't go into the invention room and have an honest conversation, which is why the kind of media that we all are doing is so important. It gives us the ability together to go in the invention room and say, what's really going on and what do we really do about it? Not the official narrative. I'm talking about the real deal. So here's the problem. Let's say we were going to really punish Mike and we made him president for a month, okay? Mike's going to walk into the Oval Office, and his Karl Rove kind of person is going to say, Mike, the American people just spent billions to get you elected, and now they want payback. They want their community block development grant. They want their COLA increase. They want their contract for their company. They want their, you think of it. There are millions of different things in the budget. They want, they want this a grant to build something in the town. Anyway, and so you'll turn to your Secretary of Treasury and they say, well, you better be nice to the people who control $500 billion trade because you can't deliver all the goods, right? And so the president can't push the red button if the American people won't. So if you go back in history, at the end of World War II, George Kennan said, we got 6% of the people, 50% of the resources. We can only keep that going by dropping a lot of bombs. So, Goldwater said, let's drop a lot of bombs. And the American people said, oh, no, we're good Christians. We don't want to do that. So Jimmy Carter's, sat in front of the fireplace and shivered and said, we got to cut back. And the American people said, no, we don't want to do that. So the Bushes came along and they said, you know something? Y'all are good Christians. Here's your check. Don't ask questions.
Wow.
And everybody said, okay. And since then, here's the political equation in America. Americans want the story of I am good and their check. So they get their check and they get their story of I am good. We're going to Iraq not so that we can get all the sales of Iraqi oils deposited in the New York Fed. We're going because we're going to free women from their bondage, their Muslim bondage, and we're going to, bring democracy. And that's the story of I am good.
And you're so correct. But importantly, what you just said is absolutely true. People don't know this, that every barrel of oil sold out of Iraq actually results in a wire transfer to a bank in New York that's
right.
controlled by us. And also, you mentioned Gary Webb. I think it's important for people to realize Gary Webb was then assassinated by the CIA, is what's believed. I think they faked a car crash or something. He was shot. He committed suicide by shooting himself twice in the back of his head. Oh, okay. That's how they did it. Yeah. And that was, like you said, that was in the 1990s. And Mena, Arkansas, of course, traces right back to Bill Clinton. So Bill Clinton, as governor of Arkansas.
And Bush, they were partners.
Yeah, you are correct. Right.
Right.
But Clinton was doing this as governor. He turned
right.
Arkansas into a drug trafficking hub and then leveraged that with a number of body bags along the way, like Vince Foster and so on, to become
right.
president.
But if you go back, the whole history of America, one of America's great powers is accumulating pools of capital through organized crime. This has been going on for centuries.
That's true. Yeah.
And what you need to know, if you try and turn around, if you try and stop the organized crime in your neighborhood, what you have to understand is you've got family, friends, neighbors, other people who are all making money on this.
True.
This is not just happening in Washington, Wall Street. This is happening in every one of the 3,100 counties in America. Every one of them. And you've got people who are making money either on the covert side or the overt side, and we're all pretending it's not us. It's that, you name the uniparty guy, you want to blame somebody in Washington. Now, there's plenty of blame to go around, okay? And I'm happy to blame the guys at the top. But I'll tell you, the guys at the bottom, I found as much corruption at the bottom and the middle as I ever found at the top.
So at the end of the day, what we're talking about, that 99 out of 100 that wouldn't push the button, is we like our fancy pants and lollipops, don't we, Catherine?
Right.
We want our goodies.
We want our goodies. We want our toys. We want to live in the bubble.
Yeah.
So, if I've never been at Disney World, but I had a friend who took the course downstairs, and you have a whole city underground, or I used to be the lead senior managing underwriter to the New York City transit system. You got this whole city underground of people who are managing what's going on upstairs. So that's the covert side, and then you got the overt side with Minnie and Mickey, and we want to live in Disney World.
But who then controls the organized crime? I just want to. Is there a group of entities, like maybe fallen angels? I don't know, but
no. So anyway, so if you go back and look at organized crime in America, there's a wonderful book about organized crime by Michael Woodywuss, who's an academic. But then you can read Whitney Webb's books. I mean, there are a lot of good books that trace the history of organized crime and how it intersects with Washington and Wall Street. I mean, I would read Woodywuss. I would read Whitney Webb. I would definitely read my book, Dylan Reed and the Aristocracy of Stock Profits. You will learn so much about how the world really works. But, what happens is you have different syndicates. So if you look at sort of the old National Crime Syndicate, you had the Catholics and the Jesuits, right? And who literally have been running, when the Roman Empire pulled back, it left in place a church and a investment syndicate that was basically a money laundering network, because you had diplomatic immunity and tax exemption. So 2,000 years of tax exemption, plus you're building control files from the confession booth, right? Until the NSA came along, that was the premier control file network, right?
It was like the Epstein files before Epstein. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: the NSA. So then you had the Catholics. And remember, in America, the Catholics had the Italians and they had the, what was it? It was the Italians and the Irish. So they controlled the ports, transportation, the unions, okay? Then you had the Masons, and they were mostly sort of Protestant in America. And that was basically sort of the Rockefeller syndicate, and they controlled the banks and the law firms. So no money so no products move unless the unions move them, but no money moves unless the law firms and the banks move them, okay? And then you've got the Jews who kind of like outpower their weight, and that's the group that Netanyahu became. And if you've ever gone back and studied the Forrestal assassination, Mike, I don't know if you've done that. There's a wonderful guy named Dave Martin who wrote sort of the definitive study of the Forrestal assassination. But I think what happened was, the Rockefeller group got the National Security Act passed in 1947, and they wanted to get the 1949 Act passed, and Forrestal was against it, so they fired him. They got rid of him, but they couldn't get him to support them doing the 1949 Act. And so I think basically the Jewish faction said, look, you guys have sovereign immunity because you have a government. You control a government. We want a government too. And that was the part of the deal that got the CIA 1949 Act, because basically the Jewish group said, we want a country that'll give us sovereign immunity and these powers that you have. So you had these three groups, all more or less had sovereign immunity. And of course, they all went to work over the next, since then, building all these different international organizations that have sovereign immunity. I mean, that's what we're a problem. We have a huge layer from the BIS to the UN to the World Bank to the IMF there are scores of them now, of all these international organizations that essentially are above the law as a legal matter.
Catherine, I'm sorry to jump in, but I want to ask you a really important question before we run out of time, and I also want to plug your website again here too, Solari.com. I keep pronouncing it Solari, so I apologize.
Either one is fine.
Either one's fine.
It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Solari.com is the site, and there you have a newsletter and a lot of material that people can check out, and people can subscribe and learn, get your reports and videos and so much more there.
So notice when you scroll down, you see the Bohemian Grove, the big meeting that makes the big decisions for the United States.
Yeah.
In these groups I'm talking about happens at the Grove, and the Grove is going on right now.
Yeah. They're watching a movie there. Forrest Hump, I think, is the name of that movie.
I think they're making all the decisions on the Genius Act as we speak.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I want to ask you about BRICS and how much of a threat to this is the BRICS effort. And let me point out a couple of things first, please.
Okay, so can I just finish the last thing?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay. So all these groups I'm talking about have sort of command of places. So you have a place-based sort of local organization that reflects these three groups.
Okay.
But it rolls up and it rolls up through two real powerhouses. One is the groups that manage the financial system, which ultimately is the central bankers organized into the BIS in Basel, Switzerland. But clearly the powerhouse is the New York Fed and the Fed. But you also have it rolling up into the intelligence agencies, because the intelligence agencies through the 47 Act and 49 Act were essentially converted into the most powerful bank in the world, because they could combine assassination and covert operations with basically moving money secretly in whatever amount they wanted all over the world. So, that cluster, and they do work by committee, but that cluster is basically what we're seeing run the world. It's the central bankers moving through the intelligence agencies and then using government to convert government into something that's completely corporate run.
And the everyday people have no idea any of this is happening, but I'm really glad you mentioned, I'm going to call it the Tower of Basel. And I want to bring you to BRICS and mention that in 2022, in response to the special military operation from Russia invading Ukraine at the time, then of course the SWIFT system was weaponized against Russia. The international plumbing infrastructure was now weaponized against Russia. You cannot participate. 300 billion in assets frozen, now on the verge of being basically looted by the West. And since then, Russia and China and Russia and India and China and India and other countries have vastly increased the percentage of their trades that are conducted in their own local currencies, not the US dollar. Right. And those settlement systems, which include gold for the imbalances settlements, are being built. How much of a threat to the dollar is the BRICS system, in your view?
So the BRICS system is definitely a threat to the dollar and the market share. Think of the financial system as starting with hardware, whether it's satellites or undersea cables, and then software, and then digits, digital digits running through the pipes. And essentially, it's if you're operating on a hardware, software, digital digit system that was built by the US after the Bretton Woods system, it is enormously inconvenient to try and convert and build alternative pipes.
Yeah.
And it's a long, slow, hard job. That's what Russia started to do in 2007. And then a decade ago, the Chinese started working with them. The Chinese were doing their own, but they started collaborating with Russia. And then the BRICS came in, and now the BRICS are going to the long, slow, hard work of creating alternatives to SWIFT, creating independent financial transaction systems that keep the West out of their data and can't interrupt. There's just an announcement today. The U.S. government has announced they won't let Chinese parts into their underground cable. So we're watching a real separation of hardware, software, and digital flows. But it's a long, slow, hard game. And I think what the dollar syndicate is hoping is that the stablecoin tsunami will completely override some of that. So, for example, we just saw at the BRICS meeting, Indonesia comes in. One of the things the BRICS asked at this last meeting, they want India and Brazil to go on the National Security Council. And of course, not surprisingly, Trump is attacking Brazil at that very moment, and somebody's trading the Brazil tariffs anyway. So just as they're trying to build more independence financially, you have the stablecoin effort as literally trying to tender for their markets. So they're going to try and flood Brazil with stablecoins and get them off their currency onto the dollar. Yeah. think of this as this is going to come down to a war, one person at a time.
And secondary tariffs, Trump's current threat, roughly 50 days away, he says, although I don't believe it, he says he'll put 100% tariffs on any country that's purchasing energy from Russia. That's India, that's Turkey, that's China, that's the EU, that's the US actually in some form. I mean, this seems like I've described it as a trade embargo against the USA.
So I think Trump sees this as a negotiation. And ultimately, the question is he looking to pull the money out of the companies that have really had enormous profits vis-a-vis labor? Or is he looking to pull the money out of the American people? Basant says he's trying to help Main Street. I don't see any sign of that whatsoever. And, and I'll be a tough guy because let's talk real money. So the military budget is just getting bounced to $1 trillion a year, but HHS last year was $1.8 trillion. Right. According to Skidmore, if we went back to 2010 levels of disability, we would drop that budget by $500 billion. America's being poisoned, and that budget should be half of what it is. I mean, the Swiss system costs $8,500 a year. The American system costs $13,500 a year, and I'm telling you, the Swiss are a lot healthier. Wow. So Americans are being poisoned. This administration is promoting mRNA technology. They just approved a new mRNA, not for healthy kids, but for sick kids, which means, we're going to kill off the sick kids. Now, I don't want to hear from anybody that you are for Main Street when you are poisoning their children intentionally as a plan.
That's right.
And that's what we're doing. I mean, our theme on Money and Markets this week was take the mask off. And the mask is coming off. I don't know. Did you see Tucker Carlson's speech at Charlie Kirk's conference?
Parts of it, yes. Yeah,
I mean, he said, look.
He freaked out Charlie Kirk with what he said.
There is no middle of the road.
Yep.
So if you're a patriot, you better get on the right side of history here.
So I completely agree with you. And I know Todd does as well. But the overall theme of what you've said here today, I believe, is that people are choosing profits and convenience over ethics, morality, or humanity. And that spiral is a spiral of civilization suicide.
So I'll say it another way, because I'm an investment banker, so I got to talk like an investment banker. They are supporting a financial coup d'etat, which is now turning into a straight coup. And they are making money, they're making money selling the country away on a long con. Okay, they're being conned. And they're selling down everything that has created our wealth in what is the greatest misallocation of capital yet in the history of Western civilization. So they're not making money, they're liquidating.
So that's covert looting.
Right. They're supporting a plunder that will destroy their, if these guys succeed and march you in the digital concentration camp, you're losing everything. You're losing everything. They're going to control your children. I mean, we're talking, I think if we can all agree, after Epstein's death, they took a portion of his estate and created a victim compensation fund. 222, as far as I know, applied. 150 got paid. 138 million. So we'll just round up and say that's $1 million for 150 people who'd been raped, right? Children who had been raped.
Right.
And we're saying there's no client list and there are no files, right? So we're talking about a group of people, whether it's the Epstein files or promoting mRNA technology, feel free to rape and poison children and are doing it on scale. I mean, we need to look at this and see this for what it is.
Well, and also I completely agree with you.
And give it a socially acceptable face.
The plunder, I'm glad you use that term plunder, because it seems to me that Americans have long gone along with the plunder of other countries, such as Iraqi oil, or let's say Ukrainian minerals, or even the attempted plunder of Russia, right? Or the attempted plunder of Iran.
It wasn't attempted, we plundered. We plundered Russia. The best book I ever read on the rape of Russia in 89 to 95 was Anne Williamson's book, which was serialized in a London sort of money management research shop. It's not available. The next best one is Sergei Glazov. If you go to Solari and put in genocide, that's the name of his book, because life expectancy dropped 10 years. And I'm having people telling me, oh, that was transformation and the capitalist won. No, that was a taking, an organized crime one. I mean, basically, U.S. intelligence agencies teamed up with the Russian mob, and they just plundered.
Hey, Catherine.
Wait. Well, I'm sorry, Tom.
Sure.
Where I wanted to go with that was that the plunder has now turned inward. So the plundering of the American people is because it's like they're running out of other territories to plunder, so they're plundering.
Right. Well, here's the thing: Ukraine failed, so they can't plunder Russia. Okay. Now they're hoping they can get Alberta and Greenland and Panama Canal and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But if they can't, I mean, what they can do is they can finish off the financial coup with a real coup. And you've got, Howard Lutnick said during the campaign, we have $500 trillion of land and mineral resources on the federal balance sheet.
That's right. He did say
you got 11 states in the West, 50% or more of the land in those states are owned by the federal government. So if you plunder, in the last Trump administration, they got the Geological Survey to start, with this technology that can look, hundreds of feet under the ground to map out all the mineral resources, in North America.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Hey, Catherine, this show is about decentralized living strategies. So if you don't mind, maybe we can wrap up the end of this with what practical steps should individuals take now to insulate themselves from this central control grid?
So the first thing you need to know is that there are many things you can do. Okay. You are far from powerless. And John Rappaport used to always say, hopelessness is an op and it's planet-wide. Don't buy the op.
I love that.
Okay. So don't buy the op. Okay. So the first thing you need to do is you need to get ruthlessly practical. And there's a wealth of ideas and information up at Solari about this. Okay. What helps is if you're in a good jurisdiction, and as you know, because you are, Todd, in a good jurisdiction, there's some jurisdictions that are better than others. And you want to be around other freedom-minded, oriented people. It pays to be in a cluster. So you want to be in a good jurisdiction and you want to find your tribe. And there's good people everywhere. So you want to do that. Some people can't leave a bad jurisdiction because of family or business or other things. And I understand that, but you can find your tribe. So you want to do two things because, building resiliency is a collective action. Okay. Now, the most important thing, I think, is having a clear mind. So if you come to Solari, and you put in the words mind control, we have a collection of all the things that are being done to compromise your cognitive sovereignty and liberty, your ability to think clearly and think straight, starting with throw out your goddamn TV. Just throw it out. Just throw it out. And I know one of you wants, one spouse wants to watch sports. Go to a sports bar. Please, just get it out of your house. And no, it's true. The reason the Amish didn't get COVID is they don't have TVs, right?
Yep.
Right. There you go. Okay. So anyway, I would go through that and to navigate this environment, you have an official reality and reality. And the people who understand reality and take action, and everybody can do it, are so much better off than the people who haven't faced, the difference between official reality. If you went into the pandemic believing the official reality, you're lucky if you're alive now.
That's right.
And there are a lot of people who aren't. There is a great poisoning. Either you protect yourself from the great poisoning, you're not going to make it. So after you get clear in your mind and you protect your mind from being, brainwashed or poured full of propaganda, you need to protect yourself against the great poisoning, because otherwise, if you look now at family finances, health is going past food, education, all the other big past rent. People are spending more, because they're sick. So you gotta take charge of your health, and if you're listening to Mike Adams, I don't need to tell you this, you already know.
Right.
But you gotta take care, you gotta say, okay, there's a great poisoning. Somebody's trying to poison me and my family and my kids, and I have to take evasive action. And the people who have done a great job of that, I know subscribers who started 10, 20 years ago, they're doing great. They're making money, they're healthy, they're energized, and they know how to duck the Scud missiles. They know they can't trust these people, but they're navigating successfully because they've learned how to rock and roll in the middle of a war zone. I mean, this is a war. David Hughes calls it omni-war. We're in a war. Somebody's trying to kill you. Get the joke and start taking evasive action. The people who do are doing great.
Now, I would add that Trump and RFK Jr. are announcing silly things like, oh, we've removed the dyes, the red dyes out of this junk food and this junk food. And Trump says, oh, I convinced Coca-Cola to start using some amount of cane sugar. And I'm like, this is insane. You're still poisoning kids with the mRNA. You're poisoning pregnant women. And healthy people don't drink that stuff anyway. Healthy people don't eat Skittles. Healthy people don't do who cares? And I say to the end user, to the viewer, you can say no right now. You don't have to wait for permission from RFK Jr. to say no. You can say no. And if you do,
here's the thing.
Yeah.
If you look at the people who are in those boxes, the boxes is controlled. And it's controlled by the people who want us injected with mRNA technology. Here's the thing. Between 1998 and 2015, $21 trillion went missing from the federal government. That is a financial coup. That is a change in governance systems through financial means. 20 trillion of that went missing from DOD. What that means, let me explain what that means. What that means is $1, the primary dealer, and Howard Lutnick was a primary dealer. So Howard Lutnick sells $1 to your pension funds, $1 of a Treasury bond, and real money comes out of your pension fund and goes into the Treasury, and then it disappears out the back door. Right?
Right.
So the Treasury market has become a big straw from our pension funds into, who knows? Now, 20 trillion of that disappeared through DOD. Some of it could have been the Iraqi coming back, so it could be a two-way street, right? When that money started to disappear, what do we know? Lawrence Wilkerson says that's exactly when the Mossad took over the DOD. He said on public shows, Rumsfeld used to complain that the Mossad had more power at DOD than he did. They were running the building. I mean, Wilkerson is on record. We just used that in our overview on the Epstein files. It's one of the great clips. So it is not surprising that the organization that just sucked $20 trillion out of our pension funds and the money has disappeared one way or another is the one that had a ongoing program called Operation Warp Speed, which basically poisoned, killed, and disabled millions of Americans.
That's right.
Because it's bringing down life expectancy. And the only way you can balance the retirement savings if you steal the money in it is to lower life expectancy.
That's right.
Mic drop. Wow.
So,
tapering.
For years and years
we call
and
it
years,
tapering sometimes, right?
Right. So for years and years and years, Mark Skidmore, who's a professor from Michigan State University, amazing scholar, teamed up with me at one point and helped me document all the money that had disappeared from the federal government. And we have lots of his material at missingmoney.solari.com. And we kept publishing and publishing and talking about it and talking about it. And Mark said to me, I'll never forget, because I was sitting in a parking lot. I was talking to him. I was in the car in a parking lot, Bolivar, Tennessee. And he said, why won't you give up on this? And I said, the reason I won't give up on this, Mark, is because if we don't do something about this, the only way they have of balancing the budget is by lowering life expectancy, and that's what they're doing, but they're going to have to accelerate it. And so when the pandemic started, I said, oh, I know what this is. Here we go. Boom. And you did, if you look at the last 20 years, the 19 industrial countries are going like this, and the U.S. is slowly separating and diverging out. It's slowly, steadily going down, but then it hits the pandemic and boom, it goes off the cliff.
And they're not done with that plan because COVID.
If you just approved an mRNA shot
right.
for children who have disease, what that means is anybody born with a birth defect or is already vaccine injured, you're going to try and kill. That's what that is. That's what it looks like to me.
And that was the policy of the Third Reich, by the way, right? Euthanasia, killing the infirmed. Even we published a story with the propaganda posters to show the history of this in German, saying it's so expensive to take care of people who are physically handicapped, and that money, would be better spent by the state on other projects that effectively the state should get rid of them, and they did.
Well, that's why you have such an effort, like in Canada, to promote euthanasia.
That's right.
And assisted death and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, but if my prime minister were Carney, I might not want to live either. I mean, no, that's a joke. That's a joke.
That's a joke. There's always something to do.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
Always something to do.
We can always, we have, you can find joy and meaning in your life regardless of what's happening with the insanity around you. Catherine, you've been an amazing guest. Is there anything you want to add before we wrap this up?
So we have scores of interviews and pages about all the different things you can do. If you come to Solari, we have a financial transaction freedom website. It has a bunch of different documents on what your state can do, on what you can do, what investors can do, what communities can do, on and on and on. So there's a ton you can do. And Mike, we have a hero of the week and a pushback of the week every week on the Solari Report, because what we love to promote is all the people who are doing just remarkable and amazing things. And you don't have to do everything. The first thing you have to do is you make sure your mind is free and you're healthy, and there's a lot you can do. But after that, if you get into cahoots with your tribe and your place, there's so many things you can do, and there's so many things people are doing. And you know something? They're having a lot more fun than the other team. So get off the couch, forget about the uniparty, and start taking action.
I want to add, and that's a great message. Solari.com is the website. And Catherine, I just want to plug our free AI engine. We just launched it a few weeks ago, Enoch. It's at brighteon.ai.
Enoch? Oh, great.
It's called Enoch. Yeah. Feel free to use it because it's the only AI engine in the world that's actually trained on real history. We spent about 20 months building it, and it's got all our interviews in it.
Real health information?
Yes. Okay. It will tell you the truth about what's in vaccines. It will tell you the truth about cancer cures. It's an incredible research tool. I was using it to research DMSO and the blue dye called hematoxylin, which is anti-cancer. So you may find that that's a really powerful tool that sort of complements your research.
I'll check it out. Okay, yeah. I'll check it out.
And then, of course, everybody check out Solari.com. Todd, any final comments before we wrap this up with Catherine?
Just wow. Thank you, Catherine. I mean, I've followed you for a long, long time, and it's just, I love the interviews where you don't have to ask many questions that you've prepared because it just flows so well, and you have just been a great steward of this show, so thank you. Okay, well, I love people who turn the red button green, so thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, and thank you for staying up for us, and have a blessed evening, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye.
All right, bye. And for all of you watching, stay tuned. We'll be right back after this break with the after party. Todd will be right back. Our camera angle just shifted there. We'll be back after this break with the after party. Stay tuned. Join the official discussion channel for this show on Telegram at t.me/decentralizedtv, where you can ask questions or offer suggestions of who we should interview next. Also be sure to subscribe to the email newsletter on decentralized.tv, where you'll be alerted about 1 day in advance of each new upcoming episode, before it gets published. On Decentralized.tv, you'll also find links to our video channels and social media channels across all platforms, including Brighteon, Rumble, BitChute, Twitter, Truth Social, and more. Check it all out at Decentralized.tv. All right, welcome back, folks. This is the after party. Mike and Todd here, and wow, what an amazing guest. Of course, we had high expectations because we know she's brilliant with her analysis, but man, a lot of layers to try to unpack, huh?
It's crazy. I mean, just that data point that we've been pilfered $21 trillion. It's just mind-boggling. I mean, I can't even wrap my mind around how much of that, or how much that is, you know?
And where that's why we're living in poverty, I mean, as a nation, because the money's, it's been looted.
Where the heck does it go? Think about that. The group that's controlling all the organized crime. I mean, my goodness, at some point in time, how does even a small group like that ever spend that kind of money? I mean, I just don't get it. I think it's just feeding evil.
I think some of that goes to a breakaway civilization concept that maybe we can talk about. But I want to go back to her red button story because that's sure. really, really insightful. I've had conversations with people over the years. Yeah. Let's say an adult couple. Okay. They have a child that's autistic, vaccine damaged, but their investment portfolio includes vaccine companies.
Right.
Like, why are you investing in the vaccine companies? Well, because they earn a profit.
Right.
But your child's vaccine damaged, that's where the profit comes from. Or people that are opposed to war, but their portfolio is invested in war companies, Raytheon, Boeing, whatever. Like, why are you invested in the companies that make bombs for war when you're opposed to war? Well, because it makes money. I mean, Catherine is right. People want the investment return regardless of the consequences.
Right, right. This is all mind-boggling. This just the last month alone, how this world has turned upside down with Trump pivot and all of the great work that Elon did at Doge. That it seemed those first 100 days, Mike, were just kicking ass and taking names, and I was really super impressed. And now it's just, what happened? You know, I don't know, but you're right. People are still going to be making their decisions and investing in this crime family that's perpetrating all of this.
Yeah, and her description of this global stablecoin effort that Trump and Lutnick and others are pushing, that this would be the way to prop up the dollar for another 10 to 15 years by allowing the stablecoin, you know, trying to push the stablecoin internationally, get everybody to use it, and then have that stablecoin backed by treasuries, which means that people are buying into the stablecoin, and then that money is being used to buy treasuries, which props up the treasuries, allows the U.S. to print more money and sell more debt without collapsing.
And from the sound of it, that means that there's going to be another 20 trillion that they're going to be able to take out the back door through that process, right?
I mean, it'll be a CBDC. They'll spy on you, and you know they're going to counterfeit the stablecoin. Of course they are.
Yeah. I mean, CBDC, whatever you want to call it, it is going to happen, right? Yeah. So, I mean, people need to act now to be able to, you know what, Mike? Our Breaking the Chains program that we created, I've been getting, there's some people that must have acquired it recently, right? Where it's kind of been a slow boil a little bit. And the feedback has been fantastic. And what I love that our show does is it at least makes the attempt to be able to wake people up to centralized control. That is the greatest evil that we're suffering from and under, Mike. And so it sounds to me like her website has some real nice free content for people to go and try to, you know, research and figure out how you can clear your head, how you can, I love throw out the TV so that you aren't exposed to the fear-based media. And fear is how they control us, period, right? That's what feeds the demons.
It's interesting that all the really well-informed people I know either don't watch TV at all or very minimal time in front of the TV. I'm one of those people.
Yep. Well, you're a rant. You have things to do, Mike.
Yeah, I've got things to do, right? But I mean, I don't have cable. I don't have Netflix. I don't do any of that stuff. When I do some fitness stretching and rolling in the evening, I literally put in DVDs. I have a DVD player. I watch old DVDs because they don't spy on you. They can't. There's no connection, right?
Right. Yeah.
And you don't have to wait for the content to download. You're in control, etc. I mean, it was the great thing about VHS tapes. You hit pause and the tape pauses.
Right.
You know, it's not spying on you. It's just a videotape. But what Catherine says that's really critical is that we are not powerless, though, in this system. So yeah, the stablecoin scam might succeed. It might run another 10 to 15 years. But you and I have the ability to do things like we can buy gold and silver or private crypto.
That's right.
And let's talk about crypto for a second, because Bitcoin hit $120,000 a coin. I saw Monero skyrocketing also along. It typically goes pretty closely with Bitcoin. But the privacy crypto is a place to stash some cash where you've got that utility, right? And gold and silver are skyrocketing. So, silver almost hit $39 the other day.
Easy. We'll be 50 soon.
I think so. Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I'm stacking gold and silver every chance. If it pulls back from a high and there's a dip, I'm like, time to buy.
Right.
I mean, just keep stacking.
Well, why don't you stack equipment for your for your facility that Trump can, slap a $300,000 tariff on, Mike? Isn't that a better investment to give it to Trump?
Yeah, just to say this on, to the audience here, we were talking off camera. So my company, we were about to buy this piece of equipment that was actually $1.3 million. And it's a very high-end piece of equipment that helps to automate fulfillment. And it's only made in Italy. Like there's no other country in the world that makes this machine. Not US, not China, not Japan. It's Italy. That's it. I call it the Ferrari of fulfillment machine. Anyway, have you ever thought you spend $1.3 million on a machine? Just one machine. Anyway, yeah, it's wild. But then Trump slaps these 30% tariffs on the EU and makes it completely unaffordable, because I would have to pay another more than $300,000 to the federal government to bring that machine in. So now I can't do that. And
so you can't cancel the order, or you didn't play. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we were about to place it, and so we put it on pause. And
so much for progress.
So Trump's tariffs are hurting a lot of domestic businesses. And if Trump makes good on his secondary tariffs,
crazy,
he's going to obliterate the supply chains of Ford, of Chevy, of GE. I mean, anybody who makes anything in America, you get parts from somewhere else.
Well, from what Catherine was sharing, I mean, this is all part of the plan. I guess we're supposed to trust some kind of plan. But this is just the organized looting of America, it seems.
Yeah. Well, I interviewed Michael Yan the other day.
Yeah.
And he's convinced that Trump is a globalist puppet whose mission is to destroy America, that he's the Trojan horse for total destruction.
That's
now,
interesting.
I think Catherine, her view would be a little different, that Trump is the Trojan horse for the plunder of America, let's say, right? I mean, she talked about, and also reasserting the dominance of the dollar in order to enable the plunder.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't talk to anybody who's well informed today who thinks that Trump is the good guy anymore.
No.
That's shocking.
And what hit me, Mike, is when she was talking about that 20 trillion that they are literally looting. The government is literally stealing, right, from us and those who operate it. I don't feel so bad, Mike, about helping people keep more of what they earn.
No kidding.
It just hit me during that process. I'm like, when you look at the macro and you think at how disgusting it is, and when you look at U.S. aid and all of that, just where our tax dollars have gone, it's all disgusting.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I just had to share that because, wow, 20 trillion. I can't even fathom how much that is and how many of us have, are losing because of it.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because, you and I have to earn every dollar.
Yes, that's right.
And even though I was going to spend 1.3 million on this machine, those are all dollars that are earned.
Oh yeah, there's opportunity costs there. Yes.
Yeah, it's not loans. It's not VC money. We don't have VC money. We don't have investors. We're not a public company. We don't have an IPO. Like that's money that we earned to reinvest in being more efficient.
That's right.
So we can get people's orders out faster.
Yep.
Well, but the government doesn't have to earn any money. It just prints it or it confiscates it from the people through coercion.
Right.
Taxation is theft. All taxation is theft. And money printing is theft.
Yes.
And that 20 trillion, that's probably just the beginning.
Probably.
I mean, the amount of money or currency that has actually been diverted. Think about how much did we fund to Ukraine? $140 billion. And zero accountability. Nobody knows where that went.
No.
I mean, probably half of that went into Bitcoin and got funneled back into the pockets of the members of the U.S. Senate, State Department,
right?
Their family foundations or whatever.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, everything that the government funds is a scam.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
Yeah.
I heard about the post office had spent like some insane amount of billions of dollars to have electric vehicle mail cars, but only a few hundred of them got built. And it turns out that on average, I think they spent like $10 million per vehicle or some insane amount. And they're garbage. They don't even work. But somebody got that contract, right? Got billions of dollars from the government to deliver crap vehicles that don't work. They're not going to be prosecuted because they're paying off, the senators.
Yeah. How much payoff is built into this big, beautiful bill, Mike?
That's,
right.
We no longer have a functioning free market economy. We no longer have price discovery in the markets. And you're absolutely right that since we have to earn the money that we spend, I think we do deserve to keep more of it. So
Amen.
Let me just bring up your website, actually, since we're talking about that.
Well, thank you, Mike. And
yep.
Okay, go ahead. I was gonna.
Well, I'm just going to bring it up here. My575e.com is your website.
Yes,
and
thank you.
We always give you an opportunity to share this with our viewers in every episode. So you want to go ahead? I'll bring it up on the screen.
Yeah, and thank you, Mike, for almost 100 episodes. I called you before the show and I said, "Hey, Mike, I can't imagine anything I could do from an activism standpoint that would have a greater effect than sharing with people about this entity." And that's where it all started from, where I just kind of started talking about what I had acquired, an unincorporated nonprofit association years prior, and how good it had been for my wife and me. And since then, when Catherine was talking about find your tribe, Mike, we now have over 200 people in our private Telegram group of really, really smart people. Cool. Most of them have been viewers from our show, and that's how they became informed. And they go to my575e.com, and there's a 90-minute video there to where I interview Dennis Gray. He's the foremost expert in the world on these UNAs. So it's worth going and just listening to that. If you earn any kind of income at all, if you own property, if you have kids, if you have an LLC, you just want to at least go there and kick the tires and listen and learn a little bit. I do need to say, because I have a lot of people from Australia or Canada or whatever asking if this entity is for them too. And unfortunately, no, it's for U.S. taxpaying citizens. So that's something that I've never shared on air before. But yeah,
Okay.
that will help a lot of people, because I always feel horrible that I don't have a solution for them. But go there. There's a PDF that you can download. It has 32 positive attributes of operating your own. And then most people, Mike, I'd say rare are the ones that just go and acquire the UNA. Most people will book a private consultation with me, and I make it very easy. And there is an investment of $150 in the consultation. As I've shared with you many times, it's not because of the money. It's just when I don't charge something, people don't show up 7 out of 10 times, but I give it back. And most people who do book a consult, they end up acquiring a UNA. So you end up getting that, that investment back right away. But then you get invited into this Telegram group. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it is, everyone, this is an amazing tribe. This is a tribe of doers. These are really, really smart people. And so I just invite you to start your journey, because we can help you keep more of what you earn, protect your assets, increase or decrease your personal liability. And if you have kids, think about your progeny, being able to keep them out of probate in a very, very effective way.
And I think that given the way that our government steals from us, loots from us,
yeah,
you're already, quote, paying taxes just in the falling value of your dollar.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, you are. I mean, because they're stealing from you constantly. So even if you don't write another check to the government, you're already paying.
That's true. Yeah.
Just, I mean, look at it in inflation. Look at what groceries cost. Look at what insurance costs.
Yeah.
That's all because of the government printing currency. They've already taken from you. If prices go up 50% on food, which they have, the government's basically taken 50% of all your savings.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, think about that. And
It's
then they
crazy.
come after you for more. So I agree with you, Todd. This is important to use a legal, documented strategy to protect your earnings through a nonprofit association that is a very special kind of nonprofit that's formed under California law but available to all Americans, correct?
Exactly right. Yeah. And I've had a lot of people say, well, if this is so great, then why doesn't everyone have them? And it's like, Mike, I'm the only person on this planet that has ever made this available publicly. Historically, this has just been word of mouth. And usually people will get their UNA and may take a couple years, 3 years to figure it out before you start feeling comfortable talking to your friends and family about it, right?
Because it sounds too good to be true.
Yeah, and
That's the first reaction.
it is the first reaction. And all I can tell you is it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I shared this with a lady today who I spoke with. She is such a fan of yours, Mike. And I said, she told me she's been following you for 20 years and she loves you. And I said, I want to make a point here. I have over 200 people in our private Telegram group. I've helped over 250 people acquire these things. You know Mike Adams. If any one of those 250 back-channeled to Mike and complained about me, the service, the entity, that it isn't what, do you think I would ever be able to speak about this again?
Right.
No.
Right.
I would not. I know you.
No, I've had zero complaints.
Yeah, right.
And really just people saying, wow.
Yeah.
Just astonishment, actually.
But it ties into Catherine, because when she says go find your tribe, it doesn't mean that you have to, travel to a different part of the country or a different part of the world to find your tribe.
That's true.
We have
Right.
a beautiful tribe right there in our private Telegram group.
Wherever you are, you can
Yeah.
find your tribe. Okay, I've got something to share with you, something that
Great.
I've never mentioned on the show before.
Oh, wow.
But have you noticed, Todd, like look at my face right now. Have you noticed how much more tan my skin has become lately?
When we first got on when we pre-gamed, I'm like, wow, he's been in the sun a lot.
Yeah. So what's happening? And you might also notice my face is thinning down more. So what happened, I used to do a lot of martial arts, and I had some pretty serious martial arts injuries. And for a long time, for several years, I was not able to jog.
Okay.
Even though I love jogging, and I also understand the healing power of sunlight. It's so critical to have sunlight. So one of my favorite things to do is to jog in the sun, and literally as naked as I can get.
Okay.
So just like very short shorts. I want full sun exposure as much as possible, right? And I jog with my dog, who's also here, and that's one of the reasons he's so fit too.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm able to jog now is because of this product. I'm going to show you my screen. You see here under rangerdeals.com, limitless peptides.
Okay, talk to me.
Now you know about peptides because you introduced me to the person.
Yep.
Right? Who we interviewed on the show. I'm going to bring up the website here, Limitless Biotech, and you got to be over 21 because this is all experimental. These are peptides. If you go here and you search for BPC-157, all right, it's going to bring up all the BPC-157 products.
Okay.
Yeah, so here are some of them right here. There's a nasal spray, there's some oral capsules, etc. Turns out BPC-157 is an experimental peptide that heals injuries, tendons, and scar tissue by building new blood supply to those injured tissues. Now, it's not a hormone like testosterone or growth hormone. It's not that. It's a different kind of signaling pathway. It's been used as experimental medicine in Russia and Japan and all over the world for many, many years. It's well known among bodybuilders, by the way.
Okay.
But I'm not a bodybuilder. I just want to be able to jog again. Well, I started using this BPC-157, just the nasal spray, because I don't do like injections of it. Just the nasal spray, like 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
As of about a month ago, I could start jogging 30 minutes again.
Wow.
Because I experienced a level of healing from this molecule. I mean, it's a peptide, it's a signal. I experienced a level of healing that I could not achieve even through all my other nutrition. Turmeric and, collagen peptides. Yeah.
Do all of that every day. So
right.
I'm fascinated by this. Where do you go to get it?
So again, you go to rangerdeals.com. Here, I'll bring it up. Go to rangerdeals.com, and right there you click, first of all, write down the discount code RANGER. That gets you 10% off. Okay. And then you can click on Limitless Peptides here. They have, of course, what you might expect, like anti-aging type of peptides. They have peptides for healing like intestinal problems or leaky gut syndrome. They have peptides for cognitive performance, such as CMAX, which I also use. Also just the nasal spray. They even have other peptides that some people use injections with, but that's not what I do. I just use the nasal sprays, and they work. They absolutely work.
Amazing.
So I got to say, I mean, the reason I'm tan, I don't lay out in the sun. I'm running. I'm jogging for the first time again in a long time, and I'm so happy about it. And
that's awesome, Mike.
It's just, I'm telling you, Todd, like your UNA and this BPC-157, there are solutions out there that most people have never heard of, but they're real and they work.
And you know what? I love as a co-host, I just learned about these peptides from you right now. And afterwards, I guarantee you within an hour, I will be ordering these because, I recently went through some surgery. And so I can't wait to be able to get this to start the healing process or to advance the healing process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. And I love your testimonial on this because I'm motivated now.
It's amazing. I mean, I'm running.
How often do you do it?
Running?
No, spray it up your nose.
Oh, just once a day.
Oh, okay.
Just once. It's just one squirt once a day.
Okay. Wow.
And, at first my question was, does this even get absorbed?
Yeah.
Does nasal ingestion, does it work? Does it get into the blood supply? Does it work? And honestly, I was very skeptical at first. I was like, I don't know. Kind of like you with the UNA. You were like, is this too good to be true?
Right.
And then, over time, I'm like, holy cow. Like
Right.
the pain is gone. The endurance is coming back. I'm jogging like I could 10 years ago,
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's incredible. I do kettlebells in the forest. I think I've told you that. I have an exercise station in the forest.
Yep.
And so my kettlebell numbers are going up, like my strength is going up. I've never been a weak person, but I've been able to do a lot more now because of BPC 157. So anyway, I just want to share that with the audience. That's kind of my plug for the day.
Yeah, that's a great plug. And you know what? For what both you and I presented, you have to take a look at these as an investment, not an expense.
Absolutely.
I'm serious. How much do people pay, normal people, not Mike Adams people, but normal people pay on their health, right? Just because, whether it's doctors or prescriptions or any of that stuff. Whereas you can invest in something like this that you have now kid tested, Mike approved, 3 months, it's working. So you feel good talking about it. And now by letting the rest of us know that it exists, it's just going to pay dividends because there's going to be a lot more of us out here that are healthy. This is awesome.
Absolutely. And look, there's something else that's really critical to mention here. Let me go to Brighteon.ai
Okay.
and show people this. We can't actually get an answer right now because it emails you the answer, but I want to encourage everybody, go to Brighteon.ai. If you ask our Enoch engine, tell me about which nutrients are photoactivated or activated by sunlight. I'm telling you, Todd, there's going to be a revolution in nutrition, which is photoactivation of nutrients, where you take a supplement and then you go out and you get sunlight, you get exposure.
That's fantastic.
The sunlight multiplies it, photoactivates the nutrition. Now, one of those nutrients is in my smoothie. It's turmeric. So turmeric is a photoactivated nutrient.
Yeah. Wow.
But there are other nutrients, such as resveratrol, and also, some of the nutrients that are found like in onions, just regular vegetables and regular fruits, they are photoactivated. So if you're eating healthy, you're like, hey, I'm eating really healthy, but you're not getting sunlight, you're actually missing out
Counterintuitive.
on some of the biggest benefits.
Okay, let me throw one at you, Mike.
Yes.
Sunlight. You're a proponent of it, but what about skin cancer, Mike?
Yeah, so 2 things on that. Number 1 is that good nutrition protects you from the damage of ultraviolet radiation.
Okay.
So astaxanthin, the microalgae product, astaxanthin, which is a powerful carotenoid, it's known in Hawaii as like a natural internal sunscreen. You take it, it makes you more resilient against sunlight exposure.
Interesting.
Yeah, it really is. Secondly, for those of us who tend to have fair skin, I have very fair skin, you do have to have some common sense. Like, you don't go out and burn yourself.
Right.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
So you adapt to it. So you have outstanding nutrition, and then you slowly get yourself more and more able to handle the sunlight, and then your skin responds with the pigmentation.
Yeah.
So, but I've come to believe that ultraviolet radiation, in fact, you need some of it, and I'm not saying look at the sun directly with your eyes, but you need some sunlight exposure of your eyes in the ambient light, and it actually heals your eyes. There's a new study I just saw that your vision improves upon exposure to natural sunlight.
Yep.
Like the red-green contrast.
I don't ever wear sunglasses when I go on my walk.
That's smart. That's smart.
Yep.
And UV also, some amount of UV penetrates clothing. and it penetrates 6 to 8 inches inside your body, and you have photo activation receptors on all your major organs. Dr. Cruz talks about this, Jack Cruz.
Yeah.
So I think we've been lied to big time about
Sure.
about skin cancer. And also, by the way, if anybody actually has skin cancer, like a little, a melanoma skin cancer thing, I would look into DMSO plus hematoxylin as a topical treatment, because that works on cervical cancer, which isn't even topical.
Right. Yeah.
It's like there are so many ways to deal with, small cancers, or you could just go to a mainstream doctor and have them cut it off your skin. Yeah. That's another way.
Yep.
And then pursue an anti-cancer diet. Quercetin. Quercetin is another nutrient that's photoactivated. And that's the one that combines with zinc to open up the zinc ionophores into your cells in order to halt viral replication. Remember that?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, and remember what they did during COVID? They said, you got to lock down, you can't go outside. Why?
Right.
Because that caused more fatalities.
Right.
Think about it.
God, evil bastard.
They knew what they were doing.
They did.
They were like, stay home, eat junk food, don't go outside, don't exercise, don't have fresh air. And then when you die, we'll call it COVID.
But I'm sure Anthony Fauci will be prosecuted, Mike, right behind Epstein. Hey, are you familiar with the Mandela effect, Mike?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's the phenomenon where a large group of people share false memory of an event or a fact, right?
Or you could say it's the real thing where we're in a different universe.
Yeah, exactly. All I can tell you is I am the father of 4 daughters, and they all love to be read to. And so I read the Berenstain Bears a lot to my daughters. This Mandela effect came out when they started talking about it, and they're like, no, it's Berenstain Bears. And I'm like, what? No way, it's not. So anyway, there's that. There's a dozen more of them that are out there.
Fruit of the Loom is another one. Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, I want to play a little bit of Todradamus here because, I think Trump next week is going to employ the Mandela effect. And he is going to demand, Mike, that they release the Berenstain files.
Oh, let me guess. And then all his loyal MAGA supporters will also say there never were Epstein files.
No, it's just always been Berenstain files.
Berenstain files. Oh my goodness.
Guys, it's the after party, and it's kind of the end of the after party, so you get what you pay for, all right?
But you're right that is like master level gaslighting there, where they just try to tell you there never were Epstein files. What are you talking about? It's almost like they're trying to push a Mandela effect on everybody.
Exactly. And I love what Catherine was saying about how, there was these lawsuits and they settled with these 250 victims.
Right.
So there never were Epstein files? Ever?
Right. There were no victims, there were no clients, nothing.
Jeez.
Yeah. And the government has released flight logs of Epstein's plane. And some guy named Donald Trump appears on those flight logs like multiple times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Bill Clinton.
Clinton, I think he's the record holder.
Yeah, probably. Mile High Club record holder there, Bill Clinton. That's sickening. But what is your favorite Mandela effect phenomenon? Is it Berenstain?
Berenstain is, and I would say Luke, I am your father from Star Wars.
Right.
It was Luke, I am your father, or build it and they will come.
True.
That's not what it says in the movie. If you go back and if you go watch it,
Right.
I did just for that. And I'm like, no, it was always build it and they will come. So I raise my hand and say, it breaks my brain. I can say I suffer from the Mandela effect because if this is a thing to where it's just a false memory shared by a lot of others, I mean, go figure, Mike. It's weird to me. It's just weird because it's a thing.
Well, in the category of false memories shared by people, like Trump said, America beat Hitler in World War II. Russia did almost all that fighting.
Right.
It's like we are lied to about history all the time. Russia lost 20 to 60 million people in World War II.
I think Trump was even demanding the release of the Epstein files a little while back, and now is that memory hold? Do I have a false memory that he was campaigning?
He talked about them, and there's a tweet where he was berating the Democrats for not releasing them. I think it's from him or his son Don. But look, I think that we're given an entirely false history.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We went to dinner with some friends, and they had recently come back from Prague, and and I think maybe I shared this on our last show, but it's like you cannot visit Prague and think that city was built with horses and buggies.
Right. Right.
It never happened. So I don't know what kind of ancient civilization actually erected these amazing cities. But we can't replicate it today, Mike.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, it's very clear to me there were civilizations that had levitation technology.
Absolutely.
Kind, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, look at the pyramids of Giza.
Yep. Absolutely.
I've personally seen in Peru, I've seen ancient structures, even Machu Picchu at the top of that mountain. You look at these boulders, and some of them weigh 60 tons, and you're telling me that they dragged a 60-ton boulder up this hike that I could barely handle myself with a backpack?
That requires some pretty doped up donkeys, I think.
I'm telling you, man. It's what the version of reality that we are told is just, I mean, it goes along with the interview we just had.
Yeah.
Where what Catherine is saying is like, we're told these fairy tales like, oh, you're the good people. Your country is liberating the world and spreading democracy. No, that's not what's happening. Our banks are laundering drug money all over the world and human trafficking all over the world. Our president's excusing human trafficking right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about drug cartels? Just go to J.P. Morgan.
Right.
I mean, look at the manipulation of gold and silver markets. Like the stock market is fake. The silver pricing is manipulated. The news media obviously is fake. Everything we're told is fake. Oh, we have to go to Afghanistan to protect those people, not to steal their heroin exports that are funding the secret CIA programs. Yeah.
Not for the poppy.
No, it's not about the heroin. It's about, we just love the Afghan culture. Yeah. Give me a break.
But people can come to this show, Mike, Decentralized TV, and we're going to give you the straight. Well, we have so many great guests, Mike.
Man.
I give you credit and the producers. This is just amazing. To be able to interview Catherine today was a real pleasure, and I hope people get a lot out of it. I sure
think so too. A great show. I didn't realize how late it is. I do have to wrap it up as well. I know you've got things to do as well. But wow, Todd, great guest, great discussion. And thanks for joining me again today. We always have a great show.
And great co-host. Thank you, Mike, for calling me a couple years ago.
Oh, look, man, what a wonderful journey this has been to do this show. And there's more yet to come.
I love the thought of the next 100 episodes.
It's going to be, imagine what's going to happen over the next 2 years that we get to talk about. I mean,
crazy.
It's going to be insane. Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for watching. Be sure to check out all the other episodes that you may have missed at decentralized.tv and enjoy our new song there. Also, Decentralized TV, our new AI song. And Todd, you've done some really good AI songs as well. So I love what you're producing. But thank you for watching today. And thank you, Todd, for joining me. It's been fun.
My pleasure, Mike. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, viewers out there who are watching. We really value you.
We do. Thanks for tuning in and thanks for sharing. All right, take care, everybody. Brighteon.com and decentralized.tv. Be well.
Cheers.
They tell you what to think. They urge you what to say. They say they're building freedom while they steal your life away. They claim they stand for peace, compliance they insist. They rip apart your human heart and hope you don't resist. Decentralized, don't compromise, be unauthorized. Decentralized, decentralized, got to realize, don't decarbonize. Decentralized, decentralized. They tell you how to vote, commanding what you feel. They sterilize your mind with lies and make their fiction real. They're reading from a script, performing psyop hits. They occupy your conscious mind until you're done with it. Decentralized, don't compromise, be unauthorized. Decentralized, decentralized. Decentralized, got to realize, don't decarbonize. Decentralized, decentralized. You're living in a Truman Show, but only the red pill can know. The things you see are really there, but no one is aware. Decentralized, don't compromise, be unauthorized. Decentralized, decentralized. Decentralized, got to realize, don't decarbonize. Decentralized, decentralized. Decentralized, decentralized. Ooh, open your eyes. Ooh, open your eyes. Decentralize.